Can you hear me, Judge?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what is wrong with my camera. It can't go on, but anyway, as long as my microphone is working. Today is the 15th of September, calling the matter of Life Esidimeni Inquest, case number I-001 of 2021.
Today we had agreed that we were going to proceed with, this will be witness number.
Of the speakers, please. Switch off your microphone, speakers. Switch off your microphone.
This is witness number 5 on the sequential list of proposed witnesses.
The court pleases my lady. The witness is present. The state call Mr. Levi Molefi.
Is it the state now? You are saying the state calls.
It's pure negligence. Now I call on behalf of this court the witness Levi Molefi Mosinogi.
Good morning, Mr. Mosinogi.
Good morning, Judge.
Can you put your names on full names on record?
My name is Levi Molefi Mosinogi.
Irene, can you let the witness take the oath? Irene, are you there? Okay, I think maybe she has got connectivity problems. Mr. Mosinogi, do you have an objection to taking the prescribed oath?
No, I don't have.
Do you then swear that the evidence that you are about to give shall be the truth, nothing else but the truth? If that is so, raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Yes. Before we start, I think, Mr. Late, something is wrong there with the connection of the witness.
My lady.
Yes, my lady.
Off your microphone and to speak. Yes. Sorry, my lady. We have still difficulty to coordinate the switching on and off the speakers and microphones.
Where is Miss Medlot? She's not there. She's not here today.
No, she's gone till the end of the week, my lady.
Oh, okay. Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Mosinogi, you had made a statement on the 31st of October 2017, and it was attested before an attorney, Mr. Dlamini. I refer you to page 1054 of the case line.
Page
1054, my lady. That is the start of the case lines, of the document on case lines. And I want you to go to page 1063.
Lady?
Yes.
With your leave, may I be permitted to assist Mr. Mosinogi by sending him prompts of the page numbers so that I can help Mr. Late?
Yes, you may do so.
As the court pleases, my lady. Thank you very much.
Even if you can just send to everyone, because I see people struggle to get the pages.
Yes, just for this, my lady. I'm not
Yes.
sure if it goes to everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. You
As
may
the court pleases.
Yes. Does the witness have the page?
Do you have the page? 1063, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, on that page is your signature. Is that your signature on that page?
Yes, it's my signature.
Okay, I'm going to read out the statement to you, and I want you to follow the reading of the statement. At the end of reading the statement, I'm going to ask you to confirm the veracity of the statement. Do you understand?
Okay.
May I proceed to my lady?
Yes.
I, the undersigned Levi Molefi Mosenogi, do hereby make an oath and state as follows. The contents contained herein are within my personal knowledge and are both true and correct, unless indicated otherwise. Where I make legal submissions, I do so at the advice of my legal representative within the Gauteng Department of Health, which I accept as being true and correct. I am employed by the Gauteng Department of Health, in brackets department, as the Chief Director of Policy, Planning and Research, in brackets PPR, as well as for monitoring and planning, in brackets M&E. Paragraph 3. On or about 11 September 2017, I was furnished with a letter where members of the South African Police Services advised that they are assigned to investigate all deaths emanating from the transfer of patients from Life Esidimeni to different NGOs within the Gauteng province. I was further requested to avail myself to be interviewed by the investigating team regarding the role that I played in the Life Esidimeni project. Paragraph 4. On 21 September 2017, I attended the interview mentioned above. Paragraph 5. Before responding to the letter, I wish to record that in the premises that I failed to provide some information or documents requested should not be construed as unwillingness or an obstruction of the legal process. However, the information to be annexed to this affidavit is the only information I have gathered to date and which is at my disposal. Where I am unable to provide requested documents, I will provide an explanation. Paragraph 6. This affidavit is structured according to the manner in which the interview was conducted. Background. Paragraph 7. During the month of September 2015, the Gauteng Department of Health, the department, gave Life Esidimeni LE a notice of termination of contract. In terms of the termination notice, the contract will terminate on 31 March 2016. Despite such termination date, the contract was extended to 30 June 2016. I attach here to a copy of the termination notice marked as LM1. Appointment. On or about November 2015, during the meeting where the MEC was reviewing the quarterly performance of the GDOH, the MEC then directed that I take over as the project leader. As project leader, I was mandated to ensure termination of the LE contract and the movement of mental health care patients by 31st March 2016. A copy of my appointment letter dated 10 December 2015 is attached here to marked LM2. project team. Paragraph 9. The project team was appointed by Dr. Silabano and comprised of the following members. 9.1, Mr. Levi Mosinoge, Project Manager. 9.2, Dr. MJ Manamela, the Deputy Project Manager. 9.3, Dr. R. Lebete, the Deputy Director General, in brackets ex officio. 9.4, Dr. P. Mazamiza, the Chief Director of his Hospital Services. 9.5, Mrs. M. Lerutla, the Chief Director, District Health Services. 9.6, Mr. T. Wimpindlala from the Directorate Infrastructure. 9.7, Ms. T. Ramangimi from the Directorate Infrastructure. 9.8, Ms. J. Moore, Chief Directorate Quality EIMP and Nursing. 9.9, Ms. M. Msimangu, the Chief Directorate Human Resource. 9.10, Mr. M. Botsani, the Chief Director Budget Management. 9.11, Mr. G. Mshlangu, the Chief Financial Officer. Mr. Mabona, the Director Communication. And 9.13, Mr. P. Hamka from Directorate Communications. 9.14, Mr. T. Mlambo, Chief Director General. 9.15, Mr. M. Mashiluwana.
9.14, Mr. Tim Lambo, Chief Director, Legal.
Yes. 9.15, Mr. M. Mashiluwana, the Director, Supply Chain Management. 9.16, Mr. M. Mabena, CEO, Westkoppies. 9.17, Mr. J. Mapunya, CEO, Sterkfontein. 9.18, Ms. Niatlu, the CEO, Cullinan Hospital. 9.19, Dr. Otieno, Tara Hospital. 9.20, Dr. Sokudela, Clinical Specialist, Westkoppies. 9.21, Professor Musa, Clinical Specialist, Johannesburg District. 9.22, Dr. U. Subramani, the Clinical Specialist at Sterkfontein Hospital. And 9.23, Mr. T. Madikwe, the Clinical Specialist, Tara Hospital. Project Plan, paragraph 10. In terms of the project plan, the transfer of mental health patients was planned to be completed by the end of March. A copy of the project plan is attached here to marked LM3. Termination date, paragraph 11. The termination notice provides that the contract period ends on 31 March 2016. However, in implementing the project plan, we encountered challenges with the smooth transition of mental health patients, which impacted projected implementation period. I accordingly alerted Ms. Kadani Mshlangu, the then MEC, of the challenges. Some of the challenges we experienced were 11.1, shortage of beds in various NGOs or obtaining enough beds within the projected period, which affects the readiness of the NGOs to accommodate mental ill patients. 11.2, time to train NGOs on handling the variety of mentally ill patients. And 12, upon advising the MEC of the challenges, I requested an explanation of the contract for a further...
An extension, just go back.
I requested an extension of the contract for a further period of 6 to 12 months to enable the department to ensure that the facilities that the patients will need when transferred are in order and meet the necessary requirements to accommodate mentally ill patients. This was based on what I observed during my initial visits to some of the LE facilities. Paragraph 13. I further requested or proposed the department to procure 2 other LE facilities as an alternative to the termination project, in which we will serve also as a backup in case the NGOs were unable to handle the mentally ill patients. Paragraph 14. A copy of the email sent to the MEC confirming the above mentioned request is attached hereto and marked Annexure LM4. Although I can't recall exact response to the email, she did indicate that we will discuss it at her regular project feedback meetings. Subsequently, the project timelines were eventually extended by a period of 3 months to 30 June 2016. Paragraph 15. On 1 March 2016, a meeting was held within the project team where the above-mentioned extension and the challenges were discussed. A copy of the minutes is attached hereto, marked Annexure LM5. Paragraph 16. At a later stage, the family members were also advised by the department that the contract of LE and the department was extended to 30 June 2016. A copy of the presentation is attached hereto, marked Annexure LM6. Inspection of the facilities, paragraph 17. Prior to assuming the duties as the project leader, I visited Randfontein, Baneng, and Waverley to ascertain the condition of the facilities, to have more understanding of how the facilities look like, how they operate, and their condition. I did not prepare any site visit report regarding to the above-mentioned visits due to the fact that the visits I conducted were to familiarize myself with the facilities. Paragraph 18. After assuming my position as the project leader, I visited, to name 3 facilities. I visited Waverley in Germiston, where I accompanied the then MEC, the head of Department of Gauteng Department of Health, some senior managers, including members of the Mental Health Directorate, and some members of the project team. I also visited paragraph 19. I also visited Randfontein Care Centre. In this visit, everyone accompanied me during the Waverley visit was present except for the MEC. I further visited paragraph 20. I further visited Baneng Care Centre, where I was accompanied by the Mental Health Directorate and some members of the project team only. Both the MEC and the HOD did furnish apologies for their absence. Paragraph 21. During these visits, the families were encouraged to form a representative structure, in brackets a family committee, to enable them to have a regular interaction with the department through the project team. Paragraph 22. I am not in possession of any documents that depict further site visits and minutes thereof. Should some come to light, I undertake to make them available to the investigating teams. With family members, paragraph 23. The department held a number of meetings with stakeholders and family on 6 January 2016. The department held a meeting with the mental ill patients' families to advise the families of the termination of the LE contract with the department. A copy of the report to stakeholder meeting held on 6 January 2016 is attached hereto, marked as Annexure LM7. Paragraph 24. On 10 December 2015, the department held a meeting with stakeholders and with its officials where it advised its intention to terminate the life Esidimeni contract and gave a direction on what it will undertake to achieve a successful termination of the contract. A copy of the minutes is attached here to marked LM8. Paragraph 25. On 21 December 2015, the Department, SADAG and Section 27 held a meeting. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss the interdict application issued by Section 27 legal representatives on behalf of SADAG and to discuss an amicable solution on how to handle the mental ill patients. The purpose of the application was to interdict the department from discharging mental ill patients from LE. Paragraph 25.1. The parties agreed to the following: that in paragraph 25.1.1, matter be resolved out of court. 25.1.2, the department will ensure that the mental ill patients will not receive lesser care than they are currently receiving at LE. 25.1.3, the department will not make any changes to Baneng. 25.1.4, interdict application will be postponed to allow discussion between the parties to resolve by 31st of January 2016. 25.1.5, the head of the department will suspend the placement of mental ill patients from LE to other institutions during the discussions between the parties. 25.1.6, life health care will be added to the out-of-court settlement without prejudice. 25.1.7, all parties to the interdict application should be engaged and form part of the discussions. 25.1.8, both parties will release a joint media statement linked to the agreement to ensure the matter is presented positively to the media. The media was adjourned, I beg your pardon, the meeting was adjourned on 6 January 2016. A copy of the meeting.
The meeting was adjourned to
6 January 2016. A copy of the minutes of the meeting is attached here to marked Annexure LM9. Paragraph 26. On 6 January 2016, the department held a further meeting where it discussed the issues raised on the meeting of the 21st of December 2015, where itself and the stakeholders agreed that the parties will not institute legal proceeding and that the differences will be solved out of court. A copy of the minutes of the meeting held on 6 January 2016 is attached here to marked Annexure LM10. Paragraph 27. On 6 January 2016, a further meeting was held between the department, South African Depression and Anxiety Group, in brackets SADAG, and LE. The purpose of the meeting was to engage the stakeholders in developing a project plan. The department promised to send to the SADAG, report to SADAG, which includes full list of potential alternative facilities and the state of readiness. A copy of the minutes of the meeting is attached here to marked Annexure LM11. Reporting the progress of the project within the department. Paragraph 28. The agreement between the MEC, HOD and the project team was that the project team will report on the progress of the project on a fortnightly basis. Due to the unavailability or clash of diaries, the project team was unable to report regularly as planned. A copy of the presentation reporting on the progress dated 13 May 2016 is attached here to marked LM12. Paragraph 29. Certain districts furnish the project team with reports regarding each district's NGO. The purpose of the reports was to inform the department of the conditions of the NGO, which will include the number of beds to accommodate the mental ill patients. Copies of the reports are attached, which includes those for the West Rand District Mental Health, Johannesburg, marked Annexure Health District, and the Ekurhuleni District. Copies of the reports of the above-mentioned districts are attached here to Annexure LM 13, 14, and 15. Paragraph 30. The presentation will include the appointment of the NGOs, the condition of the facilities, and the challenges incurred by the team. Paragraph 31. Upon the completion of the project team, including myself, presented to the MEC, HOD, and department officials to confirm the completion of the project. I confirm that at the completion of the project manager did not compile a written report to be handed to the MEC. Before I could compile a written report, the deaths occurred and Dr. Manamela prepared a summary report which was later handed to the Ombudsman's office. A copy of the summary report is attached here to marked Annexure LM 16. In conclusion, I confirm that I have made available all relevant documents that at this stage are within my immediate knowledge. Paragraph 33, I trust that I have substantially complied with the information requested as per interview conducted by the SAPS, and it was then signed and sworn to as previously said. Mr. Mosenogi, do you confirm the contents of the statement?
Yes.
There are only a few questions that I would like to ask on the strength of the statement. I would like you to go to paragraph 18 of the statement. That is on page 1059. You stated there that you visited Waverley in Germiston and that you were accompanied by the then MEC. Was that Mrs. Kedani Mashlango?
No.
18. Can I help you? You say you were inter alia accompanied by the then MEC. Was that Mrs. Kedani Mashlangu?
Yeah, it was Mrs. Kedani Mashlangu. Actually, it was her meetings. So basically, I said it was my meetings, but it was her meetings, the 3 meetings of visiting. It was from the...
Just a second, can I find out, can you be... I'm struggling to hear the witness. I don't know about the others.
Yes, my lady, I'm struggling a lot.
Me too, my lady.
It's echoing.
This must just switch on his microphone, my lady.
Perhaps he must also try to raise his voice for the benefit of every one of us.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are much better now. If you can repeat the response.
Yes, I was actually part of the delegations that was accompanying the MEC first to Waverley.
And the head of the switch off your speaker. And the head of the department was microphone. Microphone. And the head of the department that you referred to, that was Dr. Celebano, is that correct?
It's correct, Your Honor.
Yes, continue.
Sure. And the microphone. And the microphone.
Just a second. Irene, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, please admit your people because this thing is so distracting into the meeting.
Okay.
Yes, continue, Mr. Late.
Thank you. And the other people of the project team that you referred to in paragraph 18, can you out of your head remember who these people were? On the microphone.
I will only remember myself and some members of the mental health unit and some senior managers, but I can't remember all their names.
Can you remember?
Just a second, Mr.
Switch off your microphone and the speaker. Remember to.
This will be the senior managers of the department.
Yes, Your Honor, it will be some senior managers of the department. I don't think they were all of them.
Okay, thank you. Continue, Mr. Late.
Can you remember what was discussed at this meeting and what was the interaction between the members of the family and the MEC?
The meeting the first one was at Waverley, as I said, and the MEC came a little bit late, so I started the meeting as the new project manager. I think it was on the 29th January.
29 January 26.
Then the MEC found out. Yes, the purpose of the meeting was to announce, because it was to announce to the family members the policy decision to transfer patients from Life Esidimeni to NGOs and hospitals and also to homes. Which was a decision.
Just hold it there, please. Continue.
This decision to visit the facilities, my honor, was from the decision of the first meeting of the project on the 26th, where the decision was taken that we must go and visit the facilities so that it enables the MEC and the executive to interact with the family members plus the staff of the facilities that are targeted for termination of the contract. So basically it was for the MEC to interact with the people. It was sort of a mass meeting. It was a room full of people, family members, staff members, and some students at Watville, at Wavali, who were also working at Wavali for their student training, especially the occupational therapy students.
So you say that this decision, we can't hear the witness, I think is still talking. You are now.
You seem frozen.
We didn't pick up what he was trying to say, and then he's now muted.
Judge, I'm here.
Okay, proceed.
I had finished. I said the intention was for the MEC to interact with the people invited on the decision that was taken.
Yes.
Musinogi must listen carefully to my questions. What I asked is, can you tell the court what happened, in fact, happened at the meeting? We know what the purpose thereof was, but what in fact happened? What interaction was there between the MEC and the family members, and what was the family members told by the MEC? What was their reaction?
Come again, just
My question is that the witness must tell the court what happened in the meeting and what did the interaction between the MEC and the family members at this meeting entail.
The meeting, when I said it, it was very rough. Because
it was very rough.
Rough.
Okay.
Yes. People were very complaining and raising their voices, and it was tough even for me. So when the MEC came in, she decided to take over the chair because she could see that I was not coping. But
yes.
The people were not satisfied with the closure of Wavali because we were at Wavali that time, and they raised issues, and the MEC responded, and they did not like the responses. There were so many issues that were raised, especially they were not happy about the closure of the facility. And they're taking their patients to NGOs. The students also raised their concerns. Occupational therapy students who were doing training in the facility. They were wondering where they are going to conclude their training. So many other issues were raised. But out of that meeting, it was decided through the MEC that they must form a family representative committee that will interact with the project team. I was introduced as the new project leader for the termination.
Soft speak. If
Yes.
Did either you or the MEC or anybody else explain to the people the reason for the termination of the LE contract?
The MEC, I think, explained the decision and why it was taken.
What? Microphone was off. Microphone.
It's off.
Yes, continue.
What was the explanation that she gave the families?
I may not remember it verbatim, but it was along the lines of the budgetary constraints and also the issue of a long-term contract that borders on the issue of violating the PFMA.
Violating?
As far as the PFMA rule that the contract can be for lifetime.
Microphone. 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 Please speak at the microphone.
Continue.
Did any of the other senior people, like Dr. Silabanu, address this meeting, or Dr. Manamela?
As I said, it was, I don't know whether, as I said, this was the MEC's meeting, and we were there to support her, but I think basically it was the MEC who addressed the mass meeting.
So the two didn't address the meeting?
Yeah, except myself when I began as the chair, but after that, it was the MEC.
Continue.
Did the MEC give the family members any assurances regarding the NGOs or the places where the mental health care users will be moved from Life Esidimeni?
I may not be verbatim, but I think the assurance was along the lines that it will not go. They will ensure that the quality of services of care that is offered to the mental health care users will not be of the low standard.
Sorry, my lady, I'm not sure it's on my side. The witness is staggered and frozen. I missed the general part of the answer.
I don't know about the others, but on my side, I don't seem to be having problems.
No problems also this side, my lady.
No problems, my lady.
Malay, it might be the Lieutenant Colonel's sound is on. He's not muted, and I think that's where it's coming from.
He's not muted.
No, my lady, he's not muted.
Yes,
Now
the
he is.
second who's not muted, my lady.
Come again?
Now it's muted, yes.
He is now muted.
No, we could see on the screen that now the kernel is muted.
Yes, he's now muted. I can see that. But now, is there any other person experiencing the difficulties that Mr. Sibera is experiencing? so that we should know what to do before we proceed? Because on my side, I don't seem to be having problems.
No, my
Now
lady,
I
now
don't
that
see
the
the
colonel
witness
is
on the
muted.
screen, my lady. The witness has disappeared on the screen, my lady. Even Mr. Late.
I see them, but am I fine myself?
Yes, I can see you very clear.
Okay.
I concur.
Mr. Late, just check what could be the problem, failing which you might have to exit the meeting and rejoin.
Yes, possibly that will be the solution, my lady.
Milady,
Yes.
I can see both the witness and Mr. Late. Perhaps the problem might be with Mr. Sibara's connection. Can
I
we?
can see they're back now. They're back now.
Thank you, Milady.
Okay. Mr. Late, you may proceed.
May I continue, my lady?
Yes.
Let's go to paragraph 19 of exhibit. At this stage, my lady, I would like to hand in this statement for further reference to as exhibit F1.
Is there any objection to this?
No objection, Milady.
None, my lady.
The statement of Mr. Levi Mulifi Musenogi is handed in and marked exhibit F1. You have just referred the witness to paragraph 19 of F1.
That's correct, my lady. Can you tell the court what happened at Randfontein Center when you were there with the same people that you were at Waverley without the MEC? What happened there regarding the interaction between you, in other words, the Department of Health and the families and the LE personnel?
At Randfontein the following day, that is January the 30th.
Okay.
As agreed, we went to Randfontein. Unfortunately, the MEC could not make it to Randfontein.
Yes.
But the mass meeting was also the same as Waverley. It was the family representatives, family members of the patients, the staff, and also the team that came accompanied the MEC, including myself and the mental health team, and some of the senior managers. I'm not sure how many were there, but also Life Esidimeni managing director happened to be there also.
Yes.
Were the concerns of the family there similar to the concerns that were raised by the families at Waverley Care Centre? And what happened? How was it, the whole issue of the movement of the mental health care users explained to these people?
At Randfontein, at least I managed to chair, I was allowed to chair the meeting. and people listened because I gave Dr. Silebon, our then head of department, to explain the decision. As part of the executive, he explained the decision and opened up the meeting for people to respond. And there were a lot of hands also, people raising their concerns. In particular, there were those who said they don't want anything to do with their patients. They don't want them to come home because they are very dangerous. So they don't want to suffer the trauma that they have suffered before. But they raised the same kind of concerns, especially in terms of who's going to take care of them, where are they going to be placed, and why are we making such a decision as a government of the people. So we engaged them. The HOD answered some of the questions that he could answer. I might not remember the actual words, but it was along assuring them that this will be done together with them. They should also form a family team that will work with us as the project team.
Continue.
We now know that Banning, who catered for children, was eventually excluded from the so-called marathon project. Can you explain to us the circumstances that had led to the exclusion of Banning from the whole project?
Yes.
As I said, just to continue, after the 30th January, then the date chosen for banning, I ended only going with the mental health directorate people and myself. There were no other senior people who came. I can only detect that maybe the two experiences in Ramfontein and in Wavali were very difficult because I was left to address the family members at Banning. Banning is a special case. It's more the disabled children who are intellectually challenged. So the parents there were worried. The issues that were raised was who will take care of their children, and that they anticipated difficulties. But at least for Banning, there was a concession. In principle, the executive, MEC, and this executive agreed that we should not touch Banning for the year. So it should continue working for, we should just negotiate with Life Esidimeni to continue offering care to Banning for that year, 2015, 2016. So basically, the people were happy about the suspension for the year.
The suspension was agreed upon, but I want to know, how did it come about? Because if I understand correctly, initially, the whole of Life Esidimeni was included in the termination project. How did it exactly come about that Banning was eventually excluded for at least a year? Can you just explain that to the?
In other words,
Okay.
Is that your question, Mr. Late? You are muted, Mr. Late.
I'm off.
Mr. Late, you are muted.
This one. But I finished.
No, on.
On.
I don't think he hears you, my lady.
Just, I'm listening.
Mr. Late is not hearing me, and I don't understand what is happening here now.
My lady, if I
Yes.
just can explain. When I speak, my microphone and my computer speaker must be on.
Okay.
And the witnesses speaker and microphone must be switched off. And when he speaks, just the other way around.
Yes,
But
it's
when
just a
your
question of.
ladyship-
It's a question of
just a
assistance.
question yes, and if your ladyship speaks, he must leave his speakers and microphone on. You should not switch it off. He made a mistake and switch it off when your ladyship started speaking. So I just tried. It's just going to need some exercise on his part. I think we're going to move a bit quicker as soon as he gets more experience in dealing with the different.
I see it's 1 minute to 11 o'clock. Is it not? Can we just allow Mr. Late and the witness to sort out the problems that side, because it's so difficult to communicate with Mr. Late.
Yes, please, the court, my lady.
The witness must also be trained and be shown how to operate, because it appears the device, because it appears that you are in the same room.
Unfortunately, my lady, because I am alone at this stage, I don't have any assistance. We need to be in one room.
Okay, no, that's fine. Just try to sort it out. And then in the meantime, I think we should just take our tea break now. The witness is reminded that he's still under oath. He did not discuss his evidence with anyone. Thank you very much. We will resume at 11:15. The court will adjourn.
May it please the court, my lady.
Thank you.
Yes, please, the court, my lady.
As the court pleases, my lady.
Yes, please the court, my lady.
May it please the court, my lady.
Where is the witness? Okay, Mr. Late, where is the witness?
The witness is here, my lady. Is he visible? Is you...
No,
I only see your face. Okay.
He just switched on his video, my lady.
Okay.
Okay.
The witness is reminded that he's still under oath. You may proceed, Mr. Late. Just when we adjourned for tea, Mr. Late had asked a question to the witness to explain how did it come about that Baneng was left out.
That's correct, my lady. I'll give the witness an opportunity to answer that question.
And, I was trying to explain to the witness to say the question basically means what led to Baneng being left out of the project.
Yes, I thought I answered it, my lady. Should I answer it again?
Mr. Late, it appears Mr. Late was not satisfied with the answer. And in fact, if I understand it, he wants you to explain the circumstances that led to the extension of a year, as against the fact that the marathon project was to be done within a period of, is it 6 months up to March? Yes.
Your Honor.
Just before yes, Mr. Late, do you confirm?
I do confirm.
Okay, continue.
What I wanted was the exact circumstances that led to the agreement that Baneng will not be closed together with the rest of Life Esidimeni.
Okay. Mr. Mosenogi?
Thank you, Your Honor. I might not be able to explain the circumstances because I did come into the project at a later stage. So I might not know what led to the issue of Baneng not being closed at the same time. But I know that at the first executive meeting that I attended with the MEC, it was confirmed in principle that we should leave, Baneng should be left now. And I think it was because of that was my view, that it was because of the motivation of the mental health directorate. I think Dr. Manamela will be able to respond much more adequately in terms of that. So.
Continue.
These are the questions I would like to ask in terms of this first statement, 835, that has been handed in as Exhibit F1. I would like to take the witness now to a second statement that he is attested to on the 22nd of February 2019, and the statement was attested to before Sergeant Mohabi of the South African Police Service. That is on page 534, my lady, of case lines. It's the beginning of the statement. And I would like Mr. Mosenogi to go to page 537, which is the last page of the statement. Do you confirm that it is your signature on that statement?
Yes, I confirm.
Continue.
Do you confirm that this statement was taken after you had consulted with the investigating team in this matter at the offices of the Director of Public Prosecutions in Gauteng?
Yes, I confirm.
Okay.
I'm going to proceed to read out the statement to you.
Proceed.
I, the undersigned Levi Molefi Mosinogi, do hereby make an oath and state as follows, and then you give your personal particulars. And I'm going to go to paragraph 2 of the statement. The contents recorded herein are within my personal knowledge and are both true and correct to the best of my knowledge and understanding. Paragraph 3. During Life Esidimeni project, I was employed in the capacity of Chief Director, Policy, Planning and Research. My responsibility included planning, policy analysis and coordination, research coordination, and monitoring and evaluation. I have seen a termination letter from Life Esidimeni contract signed by Dr. Silabano, the former head of the department. At that stage, I was not yet appointed as the project manager of Life Esidimeni termination project. I have no knowledge as who took the decision to terminate the contract. I was only appointed as the project manager whilst the project was in progress. I was formally appointed by Dr. Silabano after being directed by the former MEC for Health, Ms. Kedana Mashlangu, to support the coordination of the project. I drafted the mandate and terms of reference of the project and nominated committee members in terms of their different expertise. I included some of the officials from Mental Health Directorate as they were responsible for mental health care users on a daily basis within the Gauteng province. I then drafted letters for the appointment of the project team by the HOD, and most of the nominated officials agreed to be part of the team. The project team was constituted of various sub-teams for ETS, HR, finance, clinical, mental health, and infrastructure. The Gauteng Department of Health had given Life Esidimeni 6 months notice from the 1st of October 2015 that expired on the 31st of March 2016 for all mental health care users to have been discharged. I was tasked to coordinate the move which entails users being moved to psychiatric hospitals and NGOs within the Gauteng province. My understanding was that users will be sent to NGOs, psychiatric hospitals, and home depending on their condition. I started the role of coordinating the newly formed project team in earnest in January 2016. During February 2016, I realized that it would not be possible to move all users by the 31st of March 2016. The project needed much more work as the Mental Health Directorate was still had to identify beds as well as inspecting NGOs for suitability and contractual issues, and the renovation work at identified hospitals still needed to be completed. I acknowledge that I am not an expert in relation to mental health users and the type of care that they receive. I'm also not an expert in NGOs and was not aware of the number of beds available, except that of what I was given on paper. My role was actually not of a typical project manager as I had expert in different roles and was only coordinating the project, which involved HR, finance, infrastructure, and mental health units. I was, however, chairing meetings. It's paragraph 5. I was, however, chairing meetings and receiving regular feedback from different teams that included human resources, infrastructure, finance, clinicians, and nursing. In hindsight, I think that as a project leader, I should have had the background knowledge of mental health, of the mental health specialty, in order to implement the project successfully. All the teams in a project were involved in feedback meetings. From the Mental Health Directorate, Dr. Manamela, as director, was part of the project team members that attended feedback meetings, as she was then the appointed deputy project leader, and it was basically her directorate that was critical in running the project. She was the one who was reporting on behalf of the Mental Health Directorate. Reports were compiled and presented to the MEC and her executive team on a regular basis. Due to the challenges I was anticipating, I requested a phased-in approach with an extension of about 6 months to a year. The proposal of extension was my initiative. I had a belief that all the patients would have been placed comfortably. I also suggested to senior management about the alternative of buying the 2 life Esidimeni facilities for backup. I was, however, only granted an extension of 3 months up to 30 June 2016. Paragraph 6. After the period of 3 months extension was granted, I did not request any further extension due to the fact that I received assurance from Mental Health Directorate that there was enough beds to move over 2,000 mental health care users. I did visit some of the NGOs, including Chipong NGO in Tshwane District, situated at Atteridgeville, before the mental health care users were moved to check the infrastructure and bed capability. I also visited some NGOs in Johannesburg and Esidimeni. Chipong facility had just been renovated, and like the other places I visited, seemed suitable. I concluded, on the basis of information received from the teams that were conducting auditing and inspection, as well as my observation, that the centres were well capacitated in terms of personnel and infrastructural conditions. I had several meetings with family members of mental health care users and encouraged them to form a representative structure in order to provide feedback to the families. I was always meeting them as an interim chairperson and later proposed that they elect their own chairperson. The family representatives were generally not happy with the termination project, and I advised them to report their unhappiness and dissatisfaction to the office of the MEC, and even suggested other higher officers like the Premier or the Minister. On 17 December 2015, South African Depression and Anxiety Group, referred to as SADAG, filed an interdict for the GDOH not to discharge patients from life Esidimeni. There was an out-of-court settlement that was reached to stall the transfer, and I supported the agreement. There was also an agreement that a list of NGOs be sent to SADAG before patients can be moved. I'm not aware as to whether such a list was sent to SADAG. I visited Waverley and Randfontein Life Esidimeni facilities to have first-hand information of what was happening during the move of the mental health care users. While at Waverley, I did not receive any complaints, but was, however, traumatized by the users I saw there who were being prepared for the move, to the extent that I could not sleep at night.
To the extent that to the extent
Sleep
that
at night.
I could not sleep at
sleep at night, yes. At Randfontein, I received concerns from the nursing personnel that they will be left jobless. I informed them that they should not worry, as there is an agreement that they will be placed in our facilities. I felt that I was under pressure to reach the deadline. I had a fear that termination was given short notice and that some users might not be accommodated. I, however, managed to stop the discharge of children from Baneng Life Facility, which was my biggest fear due to their vulnerability. It was agreed to postpone their move by a year, which was in principle agreed to. I was also aware that Life Esidimeni refused to give a comprehensive file of the users, and the discussion was held several times with the MEC and the HOD. It was proposed that departmental clinicians be involved at Life Esidimeni to work together with Life Esidimeni officials. Paragraph 10. Regarding the suggestion I raised of buying Life Esidimeni facilities, the HOD proposed that I get a quotation, which I did, and handed to him. I, however, did not receive any feedback. After the project was finally terminated, there was a report which was drafted and I signed it off. I, however, did not compile the report because I was removed before the project was finally terminated. I was replaced as a coordinator of the project towards its termination. My assumption of the reason of my replacement was a perceived tension between me and the MEC that aroused when I argued that the department agreed to a higher tariff request by Life Esidimeni for the extension by a year of the Baneng contract, and was accused of me of acting like a spokesperson for Life Esidimeni, and it was then signed and attested to. Do you agree with the contents of this statement, Mr. Mosinogi?
Yes.
yes.
My lady, I would like to hand the statement. I would like to hand the statement in as. I would like to hand the statement in as a microphone. I would like to hand the statement in as Exhibit F2, my lady.
Exhibit F2.
That's correct, my lady.
I hope that there is no objection.
No objection, my lady.
No objection, my lady.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Late.
Just a few questions regarding the statement. I would like the witness to go to paragraph 4 of the statement. That's on page 1 of the statement. Page 534 in the case lines.
Yes, can the witness read the statement on just the paragraph that you are referring him to before you ask him questions?
Four.
I've read the statement.
Okay, Mr. Late?
Thank you. You mentioned in your statement that you realized that it would not be possible to move all the users by the 31st of March 2016 because inter alia the department still had to identify sufficient beds to move them all to. Do you have any knowledge of the invitation that was extended for new NGOs to tender for the receipt of Love Esidimeni mental health care users?
I would like you to rephrase so that I can understand the question.
Can you, is it possible to make your question to a short one, please? Because if it is too long, it confuses the witness.
Are you aware of the invitation to new NGOs that were not formally used by Life Esidimeni to receive Life Esidimeni healthcare users?
As I said, that I only came into the project a little later after the project was initiated. I was appointed I was asked to come to assist on the 5th of November, 2015, while the project was already on the move. And then I had to be briefed by the HOD what it entails, because I was not really into mental health care. It was never my terrain. So on the 10th of November, after meeting with the HOD who briefed me of the project and what it entails, then I accepted to assist. That's why I signed the appointment letter that I drafted, and HOD signed it off. So I was appointed on the 10th of November. So basically, during that process, from the 10th of November, I was orientating myself what is happening in mental health. So I was attending the mental health unit meetings, and I discovered that there's a project team, and there's a project team that was working on the termination. And I think that's where I discovered that they had called NGOs to come and indicate whether they are having additional beds that they can offer to the Department of Health. I think it will be both the NGOs that are new and the old, but I did not at that time know whether the NGOs are old or new. But I knew from the plan that I was reading that NGOs existed and are part and parcel of the work of the mental health unit. So basically, I thought because they have a lot of patients in the NGOs, most of the NGOs will be the old NGOs once they've agreed to take additional people. So I can't answer it straightforward because I wasn't aware of the processes before I became part of the team.
Continue.
Except for visiting Chepong, did you visit any of the other new NGOs that had been formed in the Tshwane district?
Come again?
I asked, except for Tsepong, did the witness visit any of the other new NGOs that had been formed in the district of Tshwane?
Response?
Your Honor. Your Honor, I did visit some NGOs, but it was later on that I discovered that there are new NGOs. Tsepong I visited because I was told that it was a new NGO, but it was an old center hospital that was being renovated by the department so that they are able to allocate patients to that area. So I visited it because of before the renovation was completed, because it was the work that was done by Department of Infrastructure and our infrastructure unit, and they wanted to show me and the team of mental health unit the complete facility, the renovated facility, and what the equipment and what is happening there. And then that's how I went to Tsepong.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether Mr. Late wanted me to also touch on it later. I did visit Cullinan Rehab where the renovation happened, but also it was just to look at the renovation after the completion of the renovation.
Okay.
The wing that was not used for the hospital. The other NGOs were the ones I remember is the ones that were just for additional beds, that like Anan in Vereeniging Val area and also Takalani in Dupkop. It was that renovation for additional beds that I visited before we moved patients.
Okay.
Do you know about Precious Angels and the situation that prevailed in the two houses that was owned by Precious Angels?
Your Honor, the Precious Angels, I only heard about it when the termination was complete and people began to die at the NGO facilities. So at that time, we had finished the movement, and I discovered that I was told that there's an NGO where there are problems. And that's when I went with the HOD to go and look, and with other members, I think Mr. Pizzi, where we went to look at the facility called Precious Angels. That was the first time when I heard about it. We did visit both sites, the Atteridgeville site and the Denville site. And I think that was the time when I heard it, after when the people have already begun to die.
Yes, continue.
What did you find regarding Precious Angel? Was it suitable, according to your limited knowledge of mental health care users, was it suitable to keep these people at these premises?
Because it was the after effect of the movement, I don't think I will be able to have an objective observation, because then it was influenced by the after effects of the death. So when I went to the colorful, the Atteridgeville one, I just saw the facility. We spoke to the care workers and what happened, and all they explained to us what's happening. We also went to the Denville site, which was a double-story place. The only thing that I could detect was that it was not suitable, because I know that when we built a hospital, we make sure that mental health care users are never accommodated on the upward floors. They are supposed to be on the ground. So from that perspective, I thought that it was not suitable if the care users are also accommodated on the top. But basically, because of my limited understanding of the standards and conditions of what needs to happen with mental health, I think that's why we went together with the mental health care unit to be able to take us through those NGOs. So I won't be able to give an adequate answer on that.
Yes.
Do you have any knowledge of the process of identifying and inspecting and, in the end, licensing of an NGO to receive mental health care users or any other healthcare users within the department?
As I said from the beginning, that I'm not an expert in terms of mental health, and it was the first time that I worked with mental health institutions and providers and people. So basically, when I was asked to start with this, to assist with the project, I thought it better. That's how I convinced the HOD that we continue with the work that the mental health care directorate is doing. And Dr. Manavela becomes my deputy project manager, because she has already started this, and it is their daily work, routine work. They have a sub-directorate that deals entirely with NGOs, and they have an inspection team. So basically, the technical work and the plan that they had, I did not interfere with it much. So basically, I was not fully conversant with the work that they needed to do. I knew in terms of highlights that there's an inspection team. There's also an NGO team that works to make sure that they approve applications. And my little knowledge, when I used to be a district manager, both at Tshwane and also at Ekurhuleni. I knew that from the district point of view, the district mental health unit was the one working with the provincial mental health unit to ensure that their NGOs are assessed and they are interviewed and they do applications, and then they are accredited and then approved for funding purposes and licensing purposes. But I think that is much more on the managerial part that I know, but not the nitty-gritties.
Thank you.
In light of this answer of you, my next question might seem superfluous, but I just want to have it clarified so that everybody can understand. can you tell the court then, in terms of the project team, who was the last responsible person as regards to the identifying and licensing of NGOs to receive the mental health care users? Who was the person in the project team responsible for that and had to answer to that aspect of the project?
Your Honor,
Yes.
as I said, I found the project ongoing, and it was under the auspices of the director, Dr. Manamela. Under her, there was a team that was working on, under her direction, that was working on NGO application and inspections. But also there was a team that worked with the, I think, the district mental coordinators to ensure that they are able to know what NGOs are available to can assist with this project. So basically, the team was working under Dr. Manamela, because as I said from the beginning, I did not interfere with what I found already happening. What I did, I just modified the approach so that the mental health care directorate is assisted in that project via all the people who are supposed. So in that aspect, Dr. Manamela was the convener of every team that has to work under her, that will report under her. The other teams will come later: HR, infrastructure, finance.
Thank you.
Thank you, my lady. I have no further questions to this witness on strength of the statement. I also have no further questions following the statement. Thank you, my lady.
Thank you very much. This is now the turn for cross-examination. Who's going to start in terms of seniority?
My lady,
What is?
I will not be cross-examining this witness. Ms. Govender will, she's junior to several of my colleagues. I just have one inquiry, my lady. If one has regards to, and I know nobody objected, I thought that it would be rectified. If one has regards to what you've accepted as Exhibit F1, the annexes aren't filed correctly. So what I wanted to propose is it should be clarified how many pages F1 is and which annexes fit in what order. Your ladyship will see, and I'll give you, it starts off, the annexes LM 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 are in order, then it jumps, my lady, and your ladyship will remember this on 1116. It's the document that says page 4 of 7, 5, 6, and 7 aren't filed there. Then if you turn to pages, by way of example, of 1118, and there's several, my lady, that are blank, and then it jumps to LM 14, LM 15, and it's not filed correctly. There are lots of blank pages. So the annexes need to be rectified, is all that I have to say, my lady, because your ladyship has said that they're not in order, and it doesn't make sense to hand them in like this. So F1 needs to be clarified, and the annexes need to be placed in order. I only say that to assist your ladyship, and it's quite obvious if you don't mind me pointing out, my lady, that it has to be rectified. Ms. Govender will be doing the cross-examination, and she will wait for her cue in the line, my lady. Thank you, my lady.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wooders. I've noted some of these annexes that they were not filed properly. It's just that I think it slipped my mind. Can you please assist me when the exhibits are being handed in, so that it can be dealt with at that stage? So the evidence leader will have to ensure that F1, the annexes are properly in order, and those that are not legible, we should get the proper documents, because maybe they could be filed somewhere on case line. I trust that you will attend to that, Mr. Late.
I'll do my utmost best to do that, my lady.
Yes, and let us be clarified as to what shall have happened with those annexures. Thank you very much.
Yes, please, the court, my lady.
Yes, who's going to be next, taking into account that Mr. Wooders will not be cross-examining this witness?
My lady?
Yes.
I just need to place on record my one difficulty, which is the following. I do intend cross-examining Mr. Musenuri based on what came out of the cross-examination of Mr. Libete yesterday.
Yes.
The only difficulty that I have is that Dr. Libete himself is still under cross-examination.
Correct, yes.
Therefore, I don't know how, in the circumstances, am I to. I don't think, in the circumstances, I will be able to commence and conclude my cross-examination of this witness before Mr. Libete is excused. In light thereof, I was wondering if your ladyship will be inclined to hold off my cross-examination of Dr. Musenuri until Mr. Libete has been excused.
Yes, we'll just see how it goes. For now, you can come towards the end, if possible, because we just couldn't afford to wait and halt the proceedings because of people who are still looking for seeking legal representation. I think that has been noted.
Okay, my lady, when your ladyship says at the end, you mean at the end of cross-examination of, I must be the last to cross-examining Dr.
Not necessarily. That should be you need to cross-examine before.
Correct.
The representative for Mr. Musenuri. So we'll just see how the cross-examination develops, and then in case you still feel that you can do it once Dr. Libete has finished testifying, I don't think that there will be a problem in that regard, but we'll just have to look as to how are we going to do that in order to give the others the chance. But I think that will depend on the questions that you shall have asked the witness. Thank you very much.
As a court, please.
Thank you.
My lady,
Thank
you, my lady. I rank below Mr. Watt Pringle. I'm not sure whether he is here today or whether Mr. Martin is standing in for him.
Yes, if one can find out.
And I also rank below Mr. Pinar, so Mr. Pinar should take precedence before me.
Okay. Oh, there is Mr. Martin. So, Mr. What Pringle is not present today?
He's not present today, my lady. It's me. And perhaps if I can just take it off your plate at this point in time, we have no questions for this witness. It may be that pursuant to subsequent cross-examination, I may ask you to allow me to ask some questions. But at this point, we don't intend to cross-examine.
Thank you very much.
Dat die boel op sy junior gaan.
Mr. Pinar, are you there?
May it please the court, my lady.
Do you have questions to this witness?
My lady, before I proceed with any questions, I would have no objection to my learned colleague, Mr. Odez's junior proceeding with her or their cross-examination before I commence with cross-examination. But I would like to put it in the midst, my lady, that I find it unfortunately unsatisfactory that the cross-examination of Dr. Lebete, notwithstanding the difficulties that the court is experiencing, my lady, is not, his cross-examination is not finalized, because that may, and I don't want to say there's a probability, but I think there's a reasonable possibility that it may have an impact on the nature and the content of the cross-examination of Mr. Mosenegi at this stage.
Yes.
So I would honestly request, my lady, and suggest that the cross-examination of Dr. Lebete and his re-examination be completed by my learned colleague, Ms. Siboko, before cross-examination is continued with Mr. Mosenegi, because this process is going to lead, I foresee, my lady, to a piecemeal situation, which is not advisable, and as far as possible should be prevented, my lady, because I think it can prejudice certain of the parties, if I can refer to all the councils in that manner.
Okay.
May it please the court, my lady.
Thank you very much. Can I hear the view of the others?
Yes, please the court, my lady.
Yes.
I intended to raise this yesterday, precisely because Dr. Lebete now is off the table. And in the event that the NGO representatives get legal representations,
yes,
then they raise aspects which will impact on Mr. Mosenogi's evidence. It will be a piecemeal approach, because he will have to come back, go away, come back. Even the record itself,
correct,
it will seem as if it's going to be a bit of a tautology. I don't know if, with the leave of the court, now Mr. Mosenogi has given evidence in chief. His evidence has not been contaminated by cross-examination.
Yes.
In my view, it's going to be very safe if his evidence can be paused now, because it will create serious difficulties after Dr. Lebete has come back to the stand. And in the event that Mr. Mosenogi has finished this evidence and there are gaps which needs to be filled in, that will take us back and forth. I nearly proposed that yesterday, my lady. However, I noted that we are pressed for time. Having said that, my lady, with regard to representations, I think it's opportune time that I advise the court on the progress we've made yesterday with pro bonos. Yes, because this impacts squarely on pro bonos. The evidence leader touched a bit of Precious Angel, Miss Nuvesh is affected there. Yesterday, we managed to get them forms. They are in the process of finalizing the forms. So I'm quite—
There's a problem.
My lady, sorry.
Yes, you were just breaking. I couldn't hear.
Sorry. Yes, myself and Irene were busy fast-tracking it with the lady from the Legal Practice Council. And that process, it's running at a very fast pace. Because
if I may, just to interject you, I see there's another hand. Who's that? Yeah. So that I can know.
I can see my Irene. Those were my proposal,
okay,
my lady.
Can he finish? Yeah, if
yes,
you can
I'm done, my lady. That is my proposal, my lady, because the evidence of Dr. Lebete is hanging, and it cuts across the evidence of Mr. Mosenogi, my lady. As it please the court.
Thank you. I see there was a hand before I recognize. Okay. Let me just hear Ms. Kasim. Ms. Kasim?
Thank you, my lady.
I don't know. Irene, what do you want to say before?
I wanted to confirm what Advocate Sibara has just said with regards to trying to assist the underrepresented parties to obtain pro bono legal representation. I've sent a letter to Ms. Rabotata from the pro bono office at the LPC. However, I have not received any response from her.
Thank you. Ms. Kasim?
Thank you, my lady. I wish to express my agreement with the concerns raised by my learned friends. I fear that we will be going in circles if we were to continue. The reality is that Mr. Mosenogi's evidence is relevant for the NGO owners as well, not just Dr. Lebete's evidence. And I'd also like to say that our team would like to put questions to Mr. Mosenogi based on the testimony of Dr. Lebete. And so we will run into difficulties in that regard.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Mapyanya, do you still want to say something?
No, my lady. I was just speaking for Irene.
Okay. Mr. Late, do you want to say something? Oh, before Mr. Late, Mr. Hodes wants to say something.
Lady knows, I must say I do have sympathy with all the problems that this piecemeal cross-examination can cause.
Okay, thank you very much.
My lady, I also just wanted to express my support for the principle of not proceeding further because it's going to cause problems in the long run. If you take by way of example, Mr. Borka, she can't even get instructions from her client because he's under cross-examination.
Yes.
So it's crucial that we resolve the issue concerning the representatives of the NGOs so that we know exactly where we stand. So I support that part of Mr. Pino's submissions too unreservedly. Thank you.
Yes, if you can remember, I think these are very valid concerns. If you can remember yesterday, I had intended to excuse the witness and stop the proceedings yesterday so that we can resume in the next term on the 4th of October. That was the reason why I had intended that prior to Mr. Mosenogi testifying, taking into account that there was a lot about him in the evidence of Dr. Lebete. But now we've got the evidence in chief of Mr. Mosenogi, and I do agree that at this stage, we should just hold the cross-examination of Mr. Mosenogi until Dr. Lebete has finished with his evidence. Because I can see the difficulties that the council are experiencing in having to cross-examine Mr. Mosenogi before Dr. Lebete has finished his cross-examination.
As the court pleases, my lady.
So on that note, we'll have
to...
Yes.
May I just be permitted to request just one indulgence out of what the court is going to direct? You will recall, my lady, you have...
Should have interrupted me. Yes.
My lady, you will recall that the witness has been warned not to discuss his evidence, and I know he's not yet under cross-examination. So I'm merely requesting that when Dr. Lebete returns to the stand, we be allowed to consult with him and take further instructions.
Yes, sure. That will be, it's a fair one.
Yes.
You will definitely be allowed to do so.
As the court pleases, my lady.
On this note,
my lady, if I may, I'm sorry if my camera is not working properly. It's Advocate Makani, my lady. My lady, this matter is to proceed. If it's to proceed on the 4th of October, is that time sufficient for the parties who intend to get legal representation, or we are going to find ourselves in a situation where, when they come on the 4th, they say we were appointed 2 days ago or a week ago, we are not ready. So I want to ask as to whether are we certain that we will proceed on the 4th? That is just my 2 cents.
There's nothing that I can do for now. The dates have been set. We just hope that those people must come back, and then we find out as to whether their legal representation has been sorted and whether we could proceed. We cannot say anything now. We have already agreed on these dates. Then let's just come back on the 4th, and on that day, we'll then know what will happen.
So, my lady, if I may, on the 4th, or are we going back to Dr. Lebete or the witness before court today?
What I'm saying is that on that particular day, we will be. I will keep on checking with the other parties, the evidence leader and my registrar will keep on checking those parties, and then we will confirm as to whether on that particular day we have agreed that on that particular day we will proceed. So depending on what will happen, because I cannot say whether the people shall have already have obtained legal representation or not. I mean, this is a difficulty. It's something that I cannot anticipate will happen, but because we've already agreed on these dates, let's stick to the date, and then should there be problems, we'll just see how to deal with that at the time.
As the court, please, my lady.
Mr. Musoneki, you've just started giving evidence. As you had your legal representative, I'm going to warn you that you must know that you are still giving evidence, and at this stage, until you are excused by this court, you need not discuss your evidence with anybody else. Only under exceptional circumstances will the court allow you to communicate with your legal representatives, and that will only pertain to the cross-examination of Dr. Libete. So the oath that we have just taken will continue. So these proceedings are therefore adjourned to the 4th of October, 2021. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
My lady?
Yes.
Before the court adjourns, I think there is a likelihood that I, together with Mr. Lade and the representative of Mr. Musonichu, might approach your ladyship by way of a letter, because I find myself in the same difficulty that I also don't have access to Dr. Libete now because his oath is still. You
also have the same problem. Yes, correct.
As a court.
Okay. Thank you very much.
As your ladyship, please.
Yes, please, the court, my lady.